Welcome to What the Biz, where we talk about building successful businesses, balancing life, and all the WTB in between. With your hosts,
I'm Brigitte Vector.
And I'm Dan Prochko. Heyo, I'm excited for today.
Yeah?
Yeah. Because what we're going to talk about later today, like in hours, in a couple minutes, is something we teased up last week. The credit card fees, passing them on or not, or like other overhead expenses. Ooh, I don't know why I'm so excited about this one, but we'll get there. We'll get there. How you been?
It's a good topic. Things are good. We finished all of our mid-year quarterly review meetings with our clients, just kind of rethinking with them, hearing what their goals are, kind of seeing how things are going. I found that a lot of these conversations turn into a lot of just more advisory, like what isn't working in your business and let's figure out how to make it work. And some of it touches financials, some of it does not. But they're always really good conversations. And we've onboarded a few new clients recently, and we had one that has been managing their IRA, not exactly within the compliance with the IRS.
Ooh.
And I have been really disappointed because they do have a financial rep that really dropped the ball on this for years. And the impact of this is potentially thousands upon thousands of dollars. And I will be honest, it really frustrated me because we were all in a meeting together and it was kind of just like a shrug of the shoulders, no big deal. And obviously this company wasn't necessarily working with a skilled accountant. They were doing it internally, which is perfectly fine, but some of these things get missed, right? It's just a thing. They're not experts in it, and we don't expect them to be.
Yeah.
So it was really eye-opening just on just how simple things can have such an impact on a business owner. And when they just don't know, they don't know. And I feel so bad, right? But it's getting fixed. Disappointed that their rep didn't catch it because that's kind of their job to be there for them. But we are on the right track now. But that's why these, meetings and our reviews are just so important because we can help find these things. And
yeah. Cool. Super important to have a skilled partner. We're having something like that going on right now with a new client. They came out to us saying their past provider, they're spending like $1,500 a month on ads, but they're saying I had 2 calls. I'm just like, holy cow, way to not that's not keeping up on what's supposed to be happening. In the industry, you're supposed to have a call or a quote for every $30 spent. So they're 40 short, it's crazy. So we're coming in, taking over, bringing some transparency in, and hopefully, results. It's in a market that we've already advertised in the past, so we know it's possible. So I'm not really worried about it. I think they'll get plenty of results with us, but it's that whole, you were just saying, that simple thing of for this, it was just measurement. If you just measured and held accountable, it'd be clearer that this relationship should have ended, years ago, but they don't get anything from the marketer or the advertiser in terms of here's what we generated, here's what we did. And it's like a black hole. And I'm like, holy cow, that's insane that people like that exist. It's nuts. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, I think that's something that I've recognized, and you say it, that sets you apart in your business, right? My pocket marketing has a huge value in the fact that you guys track it and you share it. That's how you know if you're getting results, and it does set you apart. And I mean, I can see why your clients appreciate that because they're not losing thousands of dollars on nothing.
Yeah, on nothing. Exactly. That's exactly what it would be. Yeah. Other than that, we are finishing up client meetings. Our monthly, we've got monthlies. And so it's that week. And pretty standard. So we're kind of good there. So
Good stuff.
Yeah. So let's get into this. This is an interesting topic because it's not newsworthy, but it was it's not from the news like last week's topic, like last week's conversation, but it was inspired by at the end, you said, I don't even remember what you said, but it was something like, we need to talk about whether we're going to pass on credit card fees or not. And I was like, yeah, we should totally talk about that one.
It was the cute little signs when you're at a restaurant now and you're going to pay that like, oh, you're going to use a credit card. Here's the 3% fee. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, so we all, exactly like you just said, we've all been to that restaurant or that coffee shop where they are, that little sign that's like, oh, paying with a credit card, there's a 3% fee, and if it's something that's like $3, we're talking like 9 cents. Like, I don't know. My whole thing is, why not just build it into your cost? I mean, you're shaking your head like crazy. Nobody can see this. And like, I think we're just on the same page, but I don't get why you don't just build it in. We have a whole other conversation to have, which is like, oh, but it matters on the industry and the type of service you provide. We'll totally talk about that because I might be a hypocrite here a little bit, but yeah, where do you stand on that? Like, why don't you just build it in? I don't get it.
Yeah. I feel like it has an ick feeling, right? When it isn't built in. It's just kind of that like, okay, we're 2024. Most people don't carry cash or don't want to. Most business owners really don't want to handle cash. So I look at it from the side of, do you realize that when you are penalizing people, because I look at it as a penalty for using a credit card, and I totally support recouping those costs because I understand for business owners that is a huge cost. I see it every day.
Oh, huge. Oh my God, you have to recoup it. Totally.
See it every day. But build it into your prices because it doesn't have the ick filling. But the other side of that is, you just mentioned the $3 cup of coffee, right? When you are managing all of that cash, you are opening yourselves up for cash getting lost. You now have to count your cash drawers. You now have to drive a physical cash deposit to a bank. You have to have a safe to lock it into if you're not doing it daily. You have to have employees that you trust that can actually take those deposits places. I'm pretty sure the amount of time and effort and energy you are now spending managing cash and driving cash to a bank is way more than that 3% fee that you would have paid. Like, that's my brain goes financial and all of the impact that you are now adding to your operations by using cash. Because I am hearing from a ton of people, because this has been a hot topic in general, they now carry cash to avoid the fee. So I know restaurants are probably seeing an increase of cash that they're dealing with. And who wants to touch it?
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. I'm not that big of a germaphobe, but there are some bills that I've had in my hand where I'm like, I don't want to know where this one's been.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm on the side of build it in, and not just that, build all of your overhead costs in. It is just pricing. That's all it is. Know your price.
Yeah, you know what? I hadn't even thought about all of the costs associated with being a cash business, honestly. And it brings the whole marijuana industry into focus a little bit, which is crazy because they're not all, well, I think they're all cash or a lot of cash. I don't remember. Some states now actually have given some banking options, which is interesting. So they can take payments in different ways, but most of them are cash. But yeah, you got to have that safe, like you just said, trustworthy managers that are going to be, putting them in it properly, counting the drawers. And, that's a lot of reconciliation that has to be done at the end of the night or at the end of shifts, et cetera. Oh my God, the time it takes to go to the bank. How many quarters do I need today or this week? How many dimes? Like, all those little bits hanging around in the drawers. Oh, that's annoying. And then you got to have the take a penny, leave a penny jar. Speaking of germs. Anyway, sorry, that's more of like a joke than anything, but.
Oh, yep. The take a penny, leave a penny.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it just brings in a good, discussion point of building in or knowing what those overhead costs are, and just making sure that because to me, credit card fees are overhead. It's just a cost of doing business. And on my side, I like to go through this with our clients, like, what is actually costing you business, like money in your business, and are you accounting for that when you're pricing? Because a lot of things can get missed. Subscriptions are another one. I think it's an overlooked thing of having subscriptions that you need to run your business, and you should be building those costs, into your fees. So curious on
Oh, totally.
your take.
No, totally. I think we're in alignment here. There's so many things people don't think about. Like if you have Square, I think there's some tiers that have monthly subscriptions or whatever your POS is. You may have marketing programs or apps that you use, like to post to social or to run your email. I mean, these are all overhead costs that you hope drive business, obviously, but need to be into your pricing, and there is some extra research to be done in terms of market of what it can handle, et cetera. But if you find that the pricing you need to have for your profit margin is really high, you probably are just paying for too many things for one. So, I mean, it can be eye-opening in that way. But those necessary evils, like credit cards, which honestly, I don't think are really that evil if you're responsible with them, but you don't have to carry all the cash. But yeah, if you're going to get charged 3% fee, having that sign out there is just horrible. Build it in. It's such a tiny fee. People aren't going to care. They're not going to know.
Yeah.
I can't even think of a reason like the bookkeeping's too hard. Like none of that makes any sense. You get a report from the credit card statement as to how many fees there are, and it's just a line. Like it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So I know somebody's going to say, and it hit me, which is why I'm bringing this up. I'm going to say, but there's different industries, there's the restaurant and consumer industries. And then there's like your service consulting and B2B industries, et cetera. And I wonder what your take is on this, because it runs a little bit differently. You've got your POs, we can do through wire transfer. We can send check. Like there's other ways of doing things, because sometimes the money doesn't have to pass hands now. It is different from a coffee shop where it's like, you're handing me a cup of coffee, you better have the $4.50 like right now somehow. Whereas I know, even with my services, sometimes they don't start for 3 weeks, and here's like an invoice, and you have 4 different ways to pay, and maybe some of those include a fee, for the way they are. But because there's choice and options, you can avoid it with others. I don't know where your take is on that, but I know there's some industries that are really heavy in certain ways and others and others. Do you think that it can just all be avoided with pricing and we just make better experiences without it?
That's my take. So I feel like this is such a hot topic. Like it comes up in a lot of conversations. Like, how do I recoup that? And my take is always, it's a cost of doing business. So whether somebody pays with credit card or they do not, it is a cost of doing business, and it should just be part of your pricing mechanism. So
that's really interesting. Yeah.
Go.
So here's an example. So say we're doing $10,000 worth of services. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. If I'm gonna get a 3% fee on $10,000, and I'm really horrible at quick math, so I had to do it. That's $300. Okay. Mm-hmm. But let's say we're doing 10 grand a month. Okay. Now we're talking 300 times 12. That's $3,600. I mean, sure, compared to 120,000, 3,600 isn't much, but 3,600 is a pretty good bonus for somebody. You know what I mean? So I'm just kind of thinking about that. Like, what can I as a business owner do with that 3,600 to retain employees, to maybe do some marketing and find that one more client, to maybe create better experiences in the office, et cetera. But I'm not going to have the 3,600 if I just allow credit card payments, where if I require ACH or something else that has a lower percentage, I recoup those fees and then can do something with it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So like, I just think about it like, is there a point in your mind? Because in my mind, there kind of is a point where, yeah, credit card fees don't make sense anymore because the dollar amount is so high that I can do something meaningful with it.
Sure. I think that's where your difference, like you were mentioning, between B2B and not B2B, or where you're invoicing, it could still be a B2C, right? There are instances. If you elect to not even offer credit card as an option, then you're like, I just look at it as, what could it possibly cost me for somebody to pay me? So if ACH is 1%, depending on where you're, doing that through, or even free, Or if you are going to offer credit cards, like my take is to build in the fee at the highest amount it might cost you. And when you mentioned the $10,000 thing, if somebody is paying you that amount of money per month, that extra fee that you're just already building into your pricing is not going to impact their choice to work with you, because if they're already going to pay that for the services you're providing, they're going to pay it on top of. So like if you were doing that pricing, I would say you charge like 10,500 or whatever it needs to be. They're not even going to blink at it because they already know your worth and you're already going to be delivering those high value services. I would even argue $1,000 bill. Somebody isn't going to blink at that small fee that you're just building in. They're already willing to pay you that amount of money. So I always like to take my clients from a backwards approach. Like, what do you need for profit out of your business? Like, what profit margin do you need? And now let's take all of your overhead. Like, what are you absolutely going to have to pay for every single month? Like, what are your fixed costs? And then, we're getting into details, but like, what are your variable, right? Like what's going to change based on the amount of sales? So if you work backwards into pricing from the end point, you can get to the starting point of what you're going to have to charge. It could break down to a per hour fee. It could be flat rate package fees. Like whatever that is, you've worked yourself backwards. So profit margin, the overhead cost, all of it's accounted for, and you are making what you need to make in your business.
No, it totally makes sense. That totally makes sense. Most of what I was saying was mostly a devil's advocate argument anyway.
Yeah.
Because I've heard that before from people, but it totally makes sense. If you're willing to spend 10K on something, 10.3 10.3 is nothing. 10,300 is like, okay, fine. What's the difference? 10,500. What's the difference really? And you've just built in the credit card fee into there and done. And, since it works at the high level, it obviously works at the low level. Like I was saying before, a $3 coffee, $3.09 for a 3%, like who cares? Great. I'll pay you the 9 cents. So if it works at the low and it works at the high, it has to work in the middle. So really just build it in, make a better experience. Man, you got my head racing now because I don't really offer credit card payments, but I would love to, because I think there's a lot of my clients that would just have an easier time with things. They could just put it in and have it auto, whatever. Yeah, I just do ACH. So I'm going to have to rethink my whole thing on this, because I've always been this camp. I have literally always been this camp, but no software. I'm going to complain about the software systems. They don't really have, not that they would have to. If you build it into your pricing, you don't have to show it on the invoice, passing it on or anything, but they don't have, I guess, tools for that in a way. Many of them don't have I want to pass the credit card fee in but not show it. Like they don't have those features and everything. So I think it trips a lot of people up that they have to do the math themselves, is really where I'm going with that.
And I think that's because it's a state by state. If it's allowed, it's illegal in some places to actually. So if the software has a button that says fill this in to pass it on, they could be in a lot of trouble. So that's probably why. If you build
it in, you don't even have to show it. You're just saying you're eating it, even though
it's just your price.
In.
Yeah,
it's just your price. Yeah, so that's the difference. I think that's the difference of what I'm saying. Yeah, that's the difference. So, yeah, I think really easy topic here. I don't see there's any reason to need to charge on top, unless for any reason. Well, I guess sort of, not really. The thing I hate. And in a lot of places we're getting away from this, but if you have a certain type of processing volume, you're actually getting charged based on the rate of the card and not that flat rate. A lot of people don't know this, but like when you use Square or Stripe for your processing, and you get that flat like 3.5% or 3% and 29 cents, you're getting an average processing rate. Because believe it or not, there's all these cards out there, and American Express is one of these that have actually a high percentage fee. And it's mostly because of all the rewards and security that card offers. Or you have those airline mile cards. So where like your basic card is, say, 3%, okay? If somebody comes to pay with a reward card, it might be 5%. But because you're using Stripe or Square, you don't see that. Many people don't see that. But if you have enough volume, you might have a custom agreement where that's in there. And so that's where you're talking about, know the high end of what those fees are going to be and build that in, so that you don't hit that. So I just want to make sure we touched on that, because a lot of people don't realize that we have these awesome tools out now that standardize it.
That is such a great point. So I am actually in a mastermind group with somebody that used to work in the credit card industry. Like this is his expertise. And he was talking through the negotiation of credit cards and credit card fees. So Costco came up because Costco only accepts certain credit card types. And it's
Visa.
because,
it's only Visa.
yes,
It's really only Visa.
because they have negotiated such an amazing rate with Visa. That's all they do. And there's a lot of places like that you'd be really surprised about all of the back end kind of negotiations. And so his name is also Dan, so unique. But he now is in the industry where he actually helps people with a platform that will get them the best negotiated rates. Like he's left, the commercial side of credit card, and now he knows the back end. And so I would recommend, if you actually need to figure out if you're paying too much in credit card fees, somebody like that would be a phenomenal resource, because they exist out there and they can help you kind of negotiate out, which is a great way to save on your overhead. So,
yeah, totally. Oh my God, totally. That's
such a great
there.
point. It's amazing how much those can vary on the back end.
Yeah. I mean, it's also, because I've been part of some of those negotiations with certain processors, and it's really all based on volume. Like you just have to have the volume of transactions and dollar amount, like both. If you have a ton of low ticket item transactions, you're probably not going to get great rates either. But if you have very few transactions and high dollar amounts, you might not get great rates either, because your transaction volume's too low. So it's this weird, like from what I've seen, this weird thing. So having an expert that can help traverse it to help you get the best on where you're at, that'd be worth it. That'd be really cool.
And that's really why payment processors exist too, like your Stripes, your Squares, et cetera. They're negotiating all that on the back end because of their volume, so there's a lot happening on the unseen parts of credit card.
Oh, totally. Like they're passing on 3% to us plus 30 cents. You think they're only making 30 cents? No way. They're making some profit on that 3% too. So their rate across all the cards is less than 3. It has to be. There's no way, which is which is crazy. So yeah, it's a very weird industry of everything. So yeah. But I think just in the end, same page, customer experience, focus on that and you'll have a good one. What do you got coming up?
So my in-laws are permanently moving to Arizona. So we actually have been put in place to help them drive out there. So we have a 3-day cross-country road trip coming up. So that's actually kind of on my docket. Obviously business stuff and whatnot, but that's my next big thing, driving.
Ooh. How far is that? Is that like a 20-hour?
It is like 26 or so. So, yep. So we're breaking it up, and I think it's 12 hours the first day, 9 hours the second day, and then 7. So I don't even know if I had the right math, but it's a long time is what it comes down to.
Gotcha. And then you're all flying back in the end because you're.
Yep. So we're getting their cars out there, and
go.
then we are flying back after we move some stuff for them. So.
Good for you. Yeah. No, I am focusing on the book. It's the home stretch. We're into editing finally. So the first draft is done, written, got to get that edited. Everything is taking way longer than I had hoped. We all, I don't know, entrepreneurs were optimistic, I think, and we want things to be faster, or think they're going to be. So it's a little bit longer than I thought, but I'm into editing finally. So we're there. So I'm excited for that. And that's where I'm at. That's it. That's the big thing right there.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. I know we get as entrepreneurs, we have really different timelines than what reality is, I think sometimes, but I have seen and heard your progress. So
yeah, I'm so excited for it. And
it's 27 hours, just to clarify.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Well, when it's 26 hours, what's 27? What's one more
It's
hour?
all
See?
the, yep.
What's one more hour? See, what's that extra $300? Cool. So thanks for tuning in. Like what you heard, we'd love to get a review from you on whatever platform it is you listen on. Really grateful for that. It really helps those algorithms, as it were. Those magical algorithms find us. If you got a question for us or a topic suggestion, check out whatthebiz.com. Leave us a voicemail or shoot us a message over there. And we will see you next week. Have a good one.